On today's episode, we're going to be breaking down the 2015 NBA draft and redrafting all 60 picks. Who's going at number 1, 2, and 3. Lots of different options there for this draft. Michael Bolton, he wants to redraft it with me.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. As I said, we're down to our 5th edition, I think, of the redraft series. We've done 19, 18, 17, 16. So that would mean this is the 2015 NBA draft. Redrafting this draft pick by pick. Now, it's not about what that team needed at the time, and like the Minnesota's got number 2 and Philadelphia's got number 3, and they're going to pick for need at this point. Again, in general in the draft, pick the best player that's there, and then we'll go from there and figure it all out. So these are how I would redraft this draft in that sort of a scenario. So let's talk about right at the very top. I don't think there's really any other answer to the number 1 player here, and that is Karl-Anthony Towns. He is just absolute streets ahead in terms of the advanced stuff. Double the next person in terms of win shares out of this group. Almost double the highest in box score plus minus. 3 times as high VORP. He has been great, durable outside of this season, of course. There are absolutely concerns about Towns in terms of what he can do defensively, but offensively he is absolutely unbelievable. A high volume 40% 3-point shooter who can be a real offensive go-to guy, and he is to me the clear number 1 pick in this 2015 NBA redraft. If you guys have another option of who else you would pick there, please let me know. But to me, Towns is absolutely that number 1 player that I would be going for at this number 1 spot. Hey, also, let me know, did you disagree with any of my other top 3 picks through the other drafts? And if you are watching on the video here, if you check up there, you'll see the link to the other redrafts that we've done. At number 2, this is where things get a little bit dicier or a little bit more conjecture. Conjecture? That's the right word. Conjecture, I believe, around these picks. The original number 2 pick in this spot was D'Angelo Russell. That's not what's happening here. I am going with your mate.
Porzingis.
Yes, Kristaps Porzingis goes at number 2. Porzingis obviously missed a full season with his knee injury, struggled a little bit this year early on, but he was absolutely blowing up over the last 2 months of the year. Even despite missing a full season, he's equal 5th in this group in terms of VORP, and VORP is a cumulative number as well. So he's right up there, 8th overall in win shares as well. A high volume rim 3-point shooter, rim protector, can up his usage, can take a backward step. Now there is durability concerns. There's no doubt about that with him. He has some issues sometimes in terms of shooting and cold streaks and hot streaks, but overall, Porzingis he wasn't called the unicorn for no reason. His ability to defend, to block shots, to be a really impactful player defensively, and be an impact player offensively, I think he has to go at number 2. I remember when he was picked at number 4, there were plenty of people who were like, oh my God, this is gross. This is a horrible pick. We all know the Knicks fan booing there. The situation that happened in New York with the trade was not great from the Knicks' point of view, and I do not believe for an instant that he came in and demanded to be traded. They were already looking at deals. At that point, they hadn't extended him, so it was just complete mismanagement by the Knicks at that point. So to me, he is a pretty easy number 2. Again, some people may have different opinions on that, but I think getting Porzingis at number 2 is the right one. Now, here, I said that number 2 was where decisions needed to be made. I think number 3 is where it really, really does get interesting. Of course, the number 3 pick in the draft in 2015 was Jahlil Okafor. Safe to say he's not going at number 3 here, and in fact, not even safe to say there is absolutely zero chance that anybody in their right mind would pick Okafor at number 3. But who do you pick? I picked Devin Booker at number 3. Now, Booker had some big offensive numbers in his first 4 seasons in the NBA and sort of struggled to become an impactful player. I think an overall player that leads to winning. Now, the Suns are still shit. That's not all on him. There is some part of it that is on him, I think, because, again, you've had 5 seasons in the NBA. You were an all-star this season, a deserved all-star, no doubt about that. Even though it was an injury replacement, he probably should have been in anyway. He's made some strides defensively. He's shooting, he's scoring, he's passing, really, really positive. Is he a player that can be your best player on a championship team? Probably not. Can he be a really, really good number 2? Yeah. Look, I think he fits perfectly into that role. His advanced numbers aren't sensational. 9th in win shares total out of this group. Pretty damning 28th in win shares per 48, under 0.1, which is league average, that's not a great number. The advanced stuff doesn't particularly like Devin Booker because of his deficiencies defensively. 16th in BPM, actually a negative in box score plus minus, and 8th in VORP overall. But given his ability to create a shot, to create shots for others, to be a volume 3-point shooter, to get to the line a shit ton, they're all really valuable. And I think we are starting to see him progress a little bit further. The defensive stuff is a real problem, and he's not the sort of offensive difference maker, in my opinion, that someone say like Trae Young is. Young's just a little bit higher in terms of that offensive difference maker because of his superior passing as well as shooting and deep 3-point shooting. But Booker, still, obviously, a really, really good NBA player, going to be a multi-time All-Star. Can he ever become a player that leads a team to the playoffs? Yeah, the evidence at the moment, and the same goes for Towns, to be honest. The evidence at the moment says no, that they can't, but I think Towns is more likely to get there than Booker. And I think Booker probably will be a team that does lead into the playoffs. Getting to the conference finals or the actual NBA finals is probably another matter. But at this point, he is my number 3 overall pick in this 2015 NBA redraft. We're all stuck inside, locked down, quarantined, whatever you want to call it. So getting things delivered to us is of utmost importance, whether that's a breakfast burrito, it's a pizza, it's a 12-pack of beer, whether it's a scarf. OG Anunoby, he loves them.
But what about scarves?
OG,
Balenciaga
stop
ones.
OG. You better stop OG.
You need scarves, you need clothing. Postmates, they're the guys who can bring it to you. So we all know that we want to try and minimize our contact with people out and about as COVID-19 spreads across the globe. So getting people to get you things delivered to is a great way for you to stay safe. Postmates isn't just delivering burgers or sushi. Whatever you want, you can get. Convenience stores, clothing stores, you name it. No more trips to the store, no more late night fast food runs. You don't even have to worry about where you're grabbing lunch. Just download Postmates on iOS or Android, find your favorites and get anything you want delivered within the hour. And for a limited time, Postmates is giving our listeners $100 of free delivery credit for your first 7 days. To start your free deliveries, download the app and use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's the code LOCKEDONNBA for $100 of free delivery credit with no minimum purchase for your first 7 days when you download the Postmates app. Anything you need, anytime you need it, Postmate it. Pick number 4, Miles Turner. He's 7 foot, he can't grab rebounds. Yeah, it's a problem, right? There's issues. The fit with Sabonis, it can be an issue. But this is a bloke who blocks shots at a really high level, who, again, over the last 2 months, I thought started to coexist with Sabonis better. He's ideally not in that pairing. They should, and this is mainly Nate McMillan, some of it is Turner. He needs to be shooting more threes. He needs to be shooting Porzingis volume. He needs to be shooting Towns volume of threes. There's no reason he can't. So he is, again, that guy that is a Towns Porzingis light. Probably more of a Porzingis light than a Towns because he's a better rim protector than Towns. The rebounding is a concern. There's no doubt about that. But defensively, he's very good. Offensively, I think there's a lot more that he can do, and the McMillan offense doesn't necessarily suit him. He's 3rd overall in this group in VORP, which is an encouraging thing. 7th in box score plus minus, and 3rd in win shares. Really, really strong in all those numbers. And I still think that the best from him is yet to come. We haven't unlocked all of that potential for Miles Turner just yet. So he is who I would take at number 4. Now, there's plenty of you who are going to disagree with that. If you do, let me know why and let me know who you would have there. And I think many of you would have this bloke that I've got at number 5, maybe even ahead of Turner or maybe even ahead of Devin Booker. And that is the player that went at number 2 overall. And that's D'Angelo Russell. Much like Booker, even to a degree Towns, Russell has shown some interesting flashes. But is he a player that is he worthy of a guy that can be a game changer? Like Towns offensively, Porzingis offensively and defensively, Booker offensively. Is he in that level? He's shown quite a bit through his NBA career. There's no doubt about that. Really took steps forward last year. I didn't think he was all that good this year with Golden State and with Minnesota. He still has athleticism issues. Defensively, he's a disaster. That's a concern for D'Angelo Russell. He has shooting issues. He doesn't get to the line very much, which is often a poor indicator for a guard in terms of future stardom. But I think taking him at this point, a guy that you hope can go out there and at least capably run an offense and capably provide you offense when you need it to be a team. And unlike someone like Booker, Russell's a player that can lift your team and take them into the playoffs, into the 8th seed. But can he make them better than that? I don't think so. I think if you're looking for a play to take you to the finals, I'm not sure he's that guy unless he's your 4th best player or 3rd best player. But still, you're not finding those guys who are number 1 on a championship team. There's not 6 of those in a draft. You might have one every 3 years, or we're lucky we've had one probably each of the last 2 years, or maybe 2 or 3. Depends how you classify Morant and Trae Young, along with Doncic and Zion. They're not easy to find, these players. But I think D'Angelo going at number 5 is the right spot for it. Number 6, the big riser here is Joshy Richardson. Moves all the way from the 2nd round up to number 6. He was the 40th pick initially. He's 6th overall in win shares out of this group. He is 13th in box score plus minus, which is actually higher than where Devin Booker is, and a little bit behind D'Angelo Russell. His VORP is 10th overall. He's been part of winning teams in Miami. He's part of whatever the hell is happening in Philadelphia at the moment. He's a very good defender. He has issues shooting sometimes, but he can be a 40% shooter. I'm not labeling him as a 40% shooter because he's not, but he's had seasons where he does it. He can handle the ball in a pinch. He can be a part-time point guard. He can defend 1s, 2s, and 3s. I think he's just really valuable. Again, he's never going to be the best player on a championship team. He might not even be a 3rd best. He's a 4th best. He's a starter on a championship level team. I think he can be that player. But what he does, 3-point shooting, ball handling, very, 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 very good defense, which is a little bit lost in Philadelphia considering the other good defenders they've got. Really good defense. It's super valuable. And that is why I would take Josh Richardson there at number 6. Number 7, the table, Montrez Harrell. He is the bloke who is 2nd in VORP out of this class. He is 2nd in win shares. He is 2nd in win shares per 48. He is 2nd in box score plus minus. He was the 32nd overall pick. I talked about him on yesterday's Lakers Dynasty podcast, talking about Devontae Kachuk and the sort of limitations that players like him have. Harrell, no doubt, has been very good. But defensively, he's terrible. Like, it's a real problem. He doesn't shoot threes. He doesn't space the floor. The defense is a problem. He doesn't move it, but he's a high-usage, energy big man, 25, 26 minutes, who contributes almost every time he's on the court. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good player. Does he have elite Hall of Fame superstar level? No way. Like, he's not near that level. But this is a big step forward from 32nd up to 7th. I just think what he does is probably the least valuable out of what all those other guys do. He's not a shot creator. He's not a ball handler. He's not a rim protector. He's a efficiency big man. Like, it's good, and he's really, really good at it. But how valuable is it overall? That's why I've got him at 7. When some of those advanced numbers would say, well, he's the 2nd best player in this class behind Towns. But I definitely don't agree that is the case. At number 8, we've got Kelly Ubrey, who, if it hadn't been for these last 2 seasons, he'd be nowhere near this. But he has taken his defensive level way up. His shooting, which was like piss poor 25% the first couple of seasons, has jumped up. He still can have real inconsistency problems with the shooting, but he's developed into, if not a capable starter, a high-level 6th man, which is probably, I think, his best role, a Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford, 28-minute-a-night 6-man role. I think overall that's his best position. And that's great. A meaningful contributor who can defend at a high level and who can score and is developing into a capable shooter. So I think Ubrey, who was picked, I believe, at number 15 in this draft, and his advanced stuff is pretty rough. His box score plus minus in his career is negative 1.9. That is not good. That places him out of this group behind players like Sam Decker and Jaren Grant. Like, that gives you an idea how much he struggled, especially in those first couple of seasons. But he has really stepped up the last couple of years in Phoenix as opposed to being in Washington. I think he deserves pick number 8. Pick number 9, Norman Powell, the 46th overall selection in this draft, has been ridiculously good this season. Not that great the year before, good the year before that. He's had a pretty wild up and down career. But as a bench or 5th best starter shooting guard who's efficient, who can ramp up his usage when necessary, who can play some okay defense, I think it's a really good player. He's an absolute playoff rotation caliber guy, whether that's the 5th, 6th, or 7th man. The shooting has been unbelievable all season. Throughout his career, there have been moments, but he's still a 36% three-point shooter and 82 from the line throughout his career. He's got pretty good advanced numbers. You're higher than Booker in box score plus minus, higher than Nicola Ubrey, who we just talked about. I think he deserves this spot here at number 9. Let's move on to the next group of guys. I'm not going to spend as much time talking about all of these players that I did for that first group. At number 10, not sure how I feel about this one, but at number 10, I've got Rashawn Homes. Now, Holmes was a guy that sort of languished a little bit in Philadelphia, had some good moments. In Phoenix, he was okay, but he absolutely exploded this year in Sacramento. And if he didn't have this season in Sacramento, he wouldn't be sitting here at number 10. But I look at the players underneath him, and I go, well, who else do I want to take above him? And that's why I had to put him at number 10, because this draft, well, you look at this, some big names, it falls off pretty quickly. A lot of question marks do come in. So Rashawn Holmes, to me, goes at number 10. That's a big jump for him. He was a second-round pick overall in this draft, the 37th ranked pick. Now, in this class, he's 6th overall in box score plus minus. So he's doing some pretty good things. At number 11, Terry Rozier. Rozier has been better than I expected this season because I expected absolutely nothing from him, but he's been better than I expected. He still is not a player that I want to lead my team as a starting point guard. Defensively, he's okay. Scoring efficiency is a real problem with Rozier, but he's a rotation guy, no problem. Absolutely a rotation level player who can upscale his usage as he's done this season, can take on different sort of roles. Yeah, we had some locker room issues with him last season in Boston. I'm not sugarcoating that sort of stuff, but I think that he's absolutely fine at number 11. Number 12, I don't feel super confident about this one, and that is Justice Winslow. Like, is he good? Like, I don't know at this stage. Multiple injuries, multiple concerns about not being able to shoot. Works pretty well when you make him the point guard, but do you want to make him a point guard? Probably not. The Heat definitely don't at the moment. Kendrick Nunn, Goran Dragic, they're running things. The Grizzlies won't because Ja Morant is there. Like, so what is his role now? Where does he fit? Is he a 4 because he can't shoot? Is he a point guard who can't shoot? He needs the ball in his hands. He's like a significantly worse version of Ben Simmons. He's a good defender, but he can't stay on the court. So there are a huge amount of concerns with Winslow. He flashes and you go, shit, that's pretty exciting. What can he do? And he does it for 6 games, and then there's 20 games of shitfulness or injury. And you go, well, cool. And I guarantee there's people listening to this that go, man, I forgot Justice Winslow was in Memphis. Man, I forgot that he even plays because he just sort of disappears. We just don't see him. He's only played 241 games throughout this time frame, which is not a huge amount. So, when we look at Winslow, the potential's still there, but at some point, when are we giving up on potential and it's going, well, this is just what he is. He can't shoot, he needs a ball in his hands, and I'm not sure he's good enough to demand that. And I feel like that's where we are at the moment with Justice Winslow. Still had him at number 12. Number 13, Delon Wright. Love what he can do as a defender. The shooting can be rough. He's shooting pretty well this season. He can handle the ball in a pinch, play the 1, play the 2, play the 3, play 27 minutes coming off the bench. I don't like how he's been used in Dallas. He was really, really good for Memphis last season. Not a great fit at the moment, but this is, I think, the right spot. And then we get the first undrafted player. Number 14, the Crucifix, Christian Wood. It's been 20 games of good play over 5 years. It's not much, but he always flashed stuff. There was a ton of off-the-court problems that led him to being waived by Philadelphia and by Charlotte and by Milwaukee and by the Pelicans. He caught on in Detroit. Andre Drummond's gone, and he's been a beast. Now, can he be a good defender? I'm not sure. Is he putting up numbers because the team's got no one? Yes. How does that translate when everyone's back? There's real big questions. But again, we're talking about this draft, and the guys after him, if you're looking on YouTube, you can see the list there. No one's got that upside. No one's got that scalability even. So that's why you got to take Christian Wood here at the end of the lottery. At 15, Big Larry Nance goes. Solid enough. Can pass the ball now, apparently. The shot, I'm not sure is ever going to come, but pretty good defender. Limited upside, but a rotation player. 16, my mate, your mate, Punch Bob Shiploke, Bobby Portis. I don't think he's very good. But, again, on a bad team, Bob, we need you to throw up 20 shots. Mate, his hand would jump up that fast and say, man, I've got it. Because he doesn't love anything more than ignoring his teammates and throwing up a shot. Apart from punching his teammates, he loves ignoring them and he loves throwing up shots. And that can have some use. He's an atrocious defender, an atrocious passer. but he does have a decent offensive game. He can be a stretch big man, and that has some value. Number 17, I probably would have had this bloke a little bit higher if he hadn't just been consistently injured, and the thought wasn't in my head going, well, I just don't think he's ever going to be healthy again, and that's Kavon Looney. Hip injuries his first 2 years, now back/hamstring injuries, it's all related. Big opportunity for him this season to show what he could do in a big minute role as a starting center. Couldn't stay healthy. I would have had him probably even, look, with what I know he can do when he's healthy, he probably would have snuck in maybe even ahead of Rashawn Homes. Maybe that's a little bit high. Maybe at number 11 ahead of Rozier. But I just can't. But you got to take him here at number 17 because, again, the quality of this draft does drop off. At number 18, Royce O'Neill, an undrafted player. Starting on a playoff team in the NBA, well, sort of starting, moving in and out for Utah. Improved his shooting, a really hard worker, a very good defender. He is never a high usage player, but you're in this area here. You're not getting a star, most likely. But can I get a rotation player that plays 7 years and plays 28 minutes a night and defends the shit out of it? Yeah, sign me up. And that's exactly what I think Royce O'Neill is going to provide. At number 19, Tyus Jones. Pretty disappointing the last couple of seasons from Tyus. I liked his first three a lot, but last year he was bad. And then moving over to Memphis this season, he did get overtaken by DeAnthony Melton as a backup point guard, but he can still run an offense. He's extremely cautious with the ball. He did show some shooting, which fell away, and the passing's pretty good. So I think Tyus, again, serviceable backup point guard play is really important. You need a good point guard for 48 minutes, and he's not probably someone you want to play 30, but if he has to play 18, he can do it. At number 20, it's a tough one. Rondae, Hollis, Jefferson. Just, look, played well, rookie season, got hurt, came back, had some moments. The shot has never come around. Absolutely horrible for Toronto early this season, and then was forced into a large role and played really well. Small ball center, plays it. He's definitely not a small forward. Plays power forward and plays some center. I think he's worked himself into being, if he's in the NBA for another 3 or 4 years on a minimum contract or low-end contract for $3 million a year, that's about right for him. A significant rotation-type contributor who, if he sits some nights, it's fine. If he has to push back in, no worries. Number 21, Willie Cauley-Stein. He's had every opportunity given under the sun, and he can't do it. He had a chance in Golden State this year, 4 years in Sacramento, moved to Dallas, doesn't play. He has flashes. He thinks he's better than he is, as everyone pretty much does, but it's a problem with him. Only really started to block shots this season or become a rim protector, never did it for the first 4 years. And he was an elite defender coming out of Kentucky, and that hasn't really translated into the NBA. At number 22, Trey Lyles started all season really in name only for the Spurs, but had a few moments and did that a couple of times as a member of the Nuggets and the Jazz in the past as well, that when necessary, if he needs to ramp it up, he can. But when surrounded by other players who are good, he disappears. So that's the idea behind the guy. And then that's the concern you have with Christian Wood, is that when everyone else is there, what the hell is he going to do? Because if you gave Trey Lyles the level of freedom and flexibility that Wood has, maybe he could average 20 points a game. He's sort of I go back and forth. I thought maybe this guy can become a starter. I remember there was a respected Denver beat writer about 3 years ago, that said that Trey Lyles is going to be the second leading scorer on the Nuggets, which was laughable at the time. But someone who watches them actually believed that. And now we're here. 23 is Cedi Osman. He's a starter for the Cavs, but if they weren't the Cavs, he wouldn't be a starter. He's been okay. You don't want to rely on him as a starting three. A 15-minute wing off the bench, no worries. Come out and hit some threes, do a bit of passing. He's okay. He's okay. And we're talking about first-round pick here. 24, Timothy John McConnell, an undrafted player. Again, a serviceable, probably better as a third-string point guard whose shooting limitations are a real problem. Loves destroying the Knicks, but that's really all he does. And then at number 25, Frank the Tank Kaminsky. Real disappointment in that top 10 of the draft. He had some moments in Charlotte. A couple of moments in Phoenix, but some of that was the Christian Wood, like no one else is here, so I'm going to put up numbers. Is he good enough to be a rotation player? Maybe. I'm not sure. 26, Paddy Connaughton, who gives the impression, mainly because he's white, hey, this guy can shoot. But can he? I don't think so. He's athletic. I'll give him that. He loves trying to block a jump shot, a corner from the corner three. He loves trying to block those. Really athletic. Plays a position of need on the wing. Can defend a bit, but I feel like the jury's out despite it being 5 years into his career. You can tell this draft is going off the rails now because I'm picking Jahlil Okafor at number 27. Okafor, really bad the first couple of seasons, but had some moments last season for the Pelicans and even this season when he gets in there. 12 minutes, Enes Kanter style, I can go in there and get you 12 and 6 in 12 minutes. The problem is, if you're in there for any longer than that, the other team gets, instead of 12 and 6, the other team gets 18 and 7 back. That's a real problem. The game just doesn't suit him. He can't develop a three-point shot. He's slow. He doesn't defend well. He doesn't pass. But in a pinch, you throw him in there and he gets buckets. And he still can do that. Let's round out the first round by choosing number 28, Billy Hernan-Gomez. Big numbers for the Knicks and then disappeared in Charlotte. And Charlotte does not appear to like him at all. When they're on a rebuilding mode and they're focusing on Bismack Biyombo and Cody Zeller, I think it just goes to show how much he has soured in their opinion. Defensively horrendous. Has shown flashes of becoming a three-point shooter, but never really consistently. So I've got him at 28. At 29, Mario Hezonja.
It's me, Mario.
The last stint for him in Orlando when Aaron Gordon went out, he played at power forward and he went, oh shit. This is the position. This is Mario Hezonja. He passes, he shoots, he gets up for dunks, he gets in your face, he defends. And then he went to the Knicks and they buried him and he's terrible again. There is still something there with Hezonja. I've seen it. I've seen it in Orlando. I saw it a little bit in New York. But Portland, he's been really, really bad. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's out of the NBA in 2 years' time. Speaking of out of the NBA, number 30, Emmanuel Mudiay. Trash. Until he got to New York where he was not warmed up trash, maybe just standard outside on a winter's day level trash. He was okay. He showed he could play minutes. Yeah, the team was shit when he was out there and he shouldn't have been playing those minutes. But even this year in Utah, I think he's better again. When he comes in as the backup point guard, you don't go, oh, Mudiay, get out. Like you go, oh, okay, keep us neutral. And that's sort of what we want. He can't shoot. Defense is a problem. Passing has been better, but he's playing much more in a team construct. He struggled in Denver in a huge way. And he's developed into a reliable enough rotation player. I think my number 31 pick is because we haven't seen him in the NBA, so I haven't got to say, well, he's terrible. And that is Nikola Milutinov, who was selected by the Spurs all this time ago, and we just haven't seen him yet. And again, some of these players who we haven't seen in the NBA, because we haven't seen them, I just go, well, maybe they can be a player. I liked him at the time. He played for Olympiacos at the moment. He's 25 minutes a night, 10 and 8. Doesn't shoot threes, but he's efficient from the line and from the field. Doesn't block shots in a high amount. There is something there with him. And we're talking about spending the first pick of the second round to be a rotation big man. I'm not sure about it, but hey, what else are we going to do at this point? Number 32, because a lot of these blokes I'm going to talk about here aren't even in the NBA anymore. 32, big source, Alan Williams. Remember that bloke from Phoenix? His mum was a cop, I believe, and we heard about that all the time. He came in, put up these big 18 and 10 double-doubles, but actually made the team worse when he was on the court. But he can put up numbers, Jahlil Okafor style. He's not in the NBA anymore because he's not that good. But we've got to pick someone there. At number 33, what a fall from pick number 8, Stanley Johnson. I know he's Kyle McEwen's favourite player. I believe Kyle referred to him as a hybrid of Kawhi and James Harden, of course, tongue firmly in cheek. But Stan had opportunities. He can't shoot. He showed some flashes as a second-unit ball handler and creator. He moved to Toronto and he's been horrible. I am not sure where his NBA future lies from here. At number 34, Trevion Graham, 3-and-D wing, whose 3 sometimes disappoints. His D doesn't really disappoint.
Giggity.
Yeah. But yeah, look, you have him in a 13-man roster, no worries, that's fine. Number 35, Jarrell Martin, not in the NBA anymore, but had some moments of being that energy Montrez Harrell big man type of a guy. Number 36, Malcolm Miller, who's playing up in Toronto at the moment, never going to be a reliable starter or anything, but has shown some flashes this season. And let's run through the rest of this draft. Number 37, Quinn Cook. Number 38, Alfonso McKinney. Number 39, Justin Anderson. I'm still pissed that Justin Anderson didn't work out in the NBA. I thought he could be a good defender, and he showed it at the end of his rookie season in Dallas. Went, here we go. This is the guy I want. Banging in threes, that sexy left-handed shot, defending, passing, and he's just bleh. Number 40, Jaren Grant. I also thought he could be a decent enough player. Turns out he wasn't. Number 41, Vincent Poirier, who is now providing some okay backup big man minutes for the Celtics, but he was in this draft class all the way back then. Sam Decker, who, again, showed some flashes, but I think the back injury really ruined his career. 43, Jordan Mickey. Remember that bloke? He had some moments, but barely played, but came out, looked okay at times, but then just couldn't stick. 44, Juan Pablo Vuale, a pick of the Nets a few years ago, who I believe he is Argentinian. I think he's still playing over he's in Spain now. And this season, he has averaged 8 points per game in 20 minutes. The shooting has been really rough, and that's probably what's keeping him there. But I still think that maybe we get an opportunity to see him. But again, it's not a high bar. Number 45, guys, I screwed it up. I thought Cam Payne could be good. Turns out he's shithouse. He was on his way to actually being pretty good, I thought, before he suffered a broken foot twice. And I think that really bothered him. And then he also got into his own head about confidence, and that bothered him as well. He just was the butt of everyone's joke, and he couldn't cope with it. But I've got him at number 45. But yeah, I obviously missed out pretty bigly on that one. And number 26, Harrison. Andrew Harrison. Played 48 minutes in a game once. Doesn't shoot well, not in the NBA anymore. Provided some okay rotation minutes at times, so that's why he is there. At number 47, Mighty Joe Young. Played for the Pacers a little bit, backup point guard out of Oregon. I thought he could develop into a solid enough backup, but he didn't really last there. At number 48, Chris McCullough. The ACL in college probably ruined his career, but he showed some jump ability and maybe could turn into a Porzingis extraordinarily light. At number 49, Anthony Brown, who was a pretty strong three-point shooter coming out of college and had some flashes for the Lakers, but never really got too far from there. Number 50, Rashad Vaughn, who, honestly, maybe this is too high for him, but this is how, look, he is just bad. He had opportunities in Milwaukee, but he was bad. 51, Briante Weber, an unbelievably good defensive guard, but offers nothing offensively. In the times he was thrown out there for the Heat, you went, oh my God, look how this guy plays. Look at this defense. And then offensively, it just disappeared. Number 52, Chase and Randall, small guard, who's had some flashes even this season. 53, Darren Hilliard, three-point shooting wing, who didn't really last in the league. Next one is another guy who we haven't seen come across yet, and that is Nicola Radacevic, who was drafted by the Nuggets, came over and played a summer league a couple of years ago for the Nuggets. Again, we haven't seen him in the NBA yet, but a couple of years ago, he was putting up some pretty good numbers, but he moved from the Italian league into the Spanish league, and things have dropped off. 4 points, 2 assists this season, whereas in the Italian league, he was playing a lot more minutes and looked better, so things have dropped off. He was a pretty high assist rate player at one point, but that is no longer the case. Some of these names, you guys maybe don't even remember who any of them are. At number 55, Dakari Johnson, a big man back up from the Thunder. At number 56, Sir Dominic Pointer, purely because of his name. At number 57, Juan Toscano Anderson, who took 5 years to get into the NBA, but we've seen him play quality rotation defensive minutes for the Warriors this season. At number 58, Rakeem Christmas, the name again. At number 59, Nicholas Brasino, who had a little bit of time with the Mavericks. And at number 60, we haven't even seen this bloke in the NBA, but I was relatively impressed with him when I saw him at Summer League, and that is Aaron White, a 6'9", red-headed white man who shouldn't, by all accounts, be able to play basketball at the level he does. But he's a good European-level player who I'm not sure is ever going to come to the NBA. He's averaging 5 points per game, shooting 36% from three over in Italy, and he played in Spain a little bit this season as well. So that is it, my 2015 NBA draft, redraft. What did I get wrong? Everything, I'm sure. Let me know down in the comments below or tweet it at me at redrock_bball. Subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube. Great way of helping the show and also making sure you never miss an episode. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.